I suppose a good question is, it depends who's listening, right? A good question is, how have you got to this point? You mentioned 15 years worth of
Mm.
experience. What's that journey looked like, right? And what's that pathway been for you up until this point?
Well, I mean, it's interesting because computers was never something I thought. It was always sort of my second choice. Initially, it was going to be I was going to go into something medical like chiropractics or physiotherapy, or but
Interesting, yeah.
I looked at the studies. It's in about 7 odd years plus then practical, and I just thought I don't have the time for this. So I thought, well, I'll go into computers because you generally don't deal with people as much. You can kind of fix computers. It's, we're talking early 2000s, late 90s. So cloud was still something that delivered rain. It wasn't a security or a computing term. And I sort of bumbled around. First job out of uni, all the rest of it, and then my real foray into systems management was working at my dad's company in the UK. So I did looking after the Exchange server and the mail, and learnt about firewalls and site-to-site VPNs and all that kind of stuff. Um, and yeah, as I said, I outgrew that role. Looked for the next one. Worked at a small service provider. Thoroughly enjoyed that. Learned all about Server 2003 and how you configure Active Directory, and kind of just picked up bits of knowledge as I went. But I'd say my first real foot into the world of computer security was, again, looking to change career, and I applied at Sophos
Yeah, yeah.
for a role in professional services. So it was really exciting. Sophos ProServe, the technical elite. We always used to joke that even though we could configure the platform to do whatever it needed to, we couldn't work the coffee machine in the office type of thing. But that was kind of where I got this introduction, and I had no prior training or experience. I guess just an aptitude or a willingness, and was sort of told, welcome aboard. We'll teach you as you go. So I learned about antivirus at that stage, and then it translated into, well, now we need you to run some training. But really, what I gained from that was going out and doing professional services. Was how is the stuff being implemented, and I just made sure that ears were always open to listen to how our clients were using it or what they expected from it. How could it be configured to do this? Asking questions, trying to help where I can, and sort of just picking up those bits of knowledge. And that was, I picked up more encryption through their Safeguard platform. Again, training, all the rest of it, till eventually I got to a stage where, okay, what's next? And then it was, for me, a technology type of thing. I've done the endpoint. I understand AV. What else is out there in the world of security? And I thought, firewalls are boring. There's this thing called SIM. I hadn't really come across it, but I saw that a company called Logarithm was hiring. Interviewed there. Two of the most dynamic leaders I've ever worked for, Martin Landis and Ross Brewer. It was just sort of really inspirational in their dedication, their focus, their training. I thought, cool, let's give this a go. And then for 4 years of my life, all you need is logs. And it was all about Windows logging and firewall logging and messages per second. And again, started off implementing, deploying. I was traveling around the UK, racking and stacking, configuring, tuning, learned basically from the guy I mentored there, Andy Habibi Parker, mentored me into, just how you handle difficult customers. How do you message things? How do you, deal with maybe expectations that weren't met? How do you cope with that on site? Can you maintain your composure, et cetera, et cetera? So, yeah, that was fun. That was interesting. And I think at that organization was where Martin Landis turned around and said, you'd actually be really good at a pre-sales type of role. You've done this. You've implemented it. You've got good security knowledge. Take that and use it to show the value of this to new clients. I thought, well, what could possibly go wrong? So, at that point, didn't have children, dependents, etc. Was just married. So I thought, well, let's give this a try, because if it all goes wrong and I'm eating, pot noodle for a week, so be it, type of thing. It's only my own life. So yeah, that's when I got into pre-sales, tried that, got comfortable with pitching, with talking in front of crowds. And from then on, it was, again, okay, well, I've done this SIM thing for 4 years. What's next? Well, there's this technology called EDR. It sounds quite interesting. So off to, well, actually, I took a year's hiatus to do managed services. I went off to Verizon Managed Security Services. Didn't
Yeah.
enjoy it. Realized I wasn't a big company type of person. I prefer smaller startups, etc. That was just more my speed, more dynamic. You can effect more change. You're not bogged down by process. Nothing wrong with that. No disrespect to anybody. Just didn't suit me. So yeah, learned that about myself. I had a look in my area. Carbon Black was hiring in the Reading area. Joined them. Slightly different partner solutions. So a little bit of pre-salesy pitching, etc., but also very technical. How does a solution work? Carved out a little niche for myself there within the IR partner community that I thoroughly enjoyed. And from then it was then decision to move to South Africa. And that's where it was, okay, well, Carbon Black doesn't have an office. So where do I go for? And thanks to the journey I'd been on, I thought, well, I could do a pre-sales, a post-sales, a partner solutions channel type of role. There's lots of options. And channel here in South Africa is quite strong. A lot of the vendors, etc., leverage the channel here because it just makes more sense. They can extend into the region without having to actually have people and offices. But I was lucky that Cybereason had a presence down here, pre and post sales. They were looking for an SE. So yeah, that made the move back to South Africa fairly easier. Know that I had a job here. It was a bit challenging adapting from a UK mindset to a South African one, learning the industry, the players, the movers, the shakers, etc. But navigated that, got my head around the partners and the channel here. And yeah, up until, I'd say the end of last year, almost a year ago, I was at Cybereason, very happy. They did go through some right sizing. It's the first time in my career that I've ever sort of faced something like that. But again, took the decision to say, yeah, okay, well, if my role's at risk, I'll take that leap and try something different. And I've now wound up at Orange Cyber Defense talking managed services and thoroughly enjoying it. Again, the reasons for that is not so much that it's Orange Cyber Defense, but here in South Africa, it grew up from a company called SensePost, and for years, I've watched them, I followed them. Their sort of pedigree has just been amazing. So I wanted to work with them. I never actually thought I was technical enough to work for them. I actually joked to say, well, I'm glad you guys have finally dropped your standards enough to hire me. But yeah, again, just working with various clients, understanding the solutions, the services. It's nice to talk a little bit more freely, not be bound by the same sort of corporate pitch deck. You can kind of take the conversation in multiple places, which I think for me ties into the experience that I've had, which is quite exciting.